Everybody. Oh, I feel like I came in hot there. Hi. I hope that you are doing all right today. Just sort of a busy day for me working and then trying to catch up on some of our social media because you got to do all the things these days, folks. And I hope that you're all pacing yourself. I have to do this to stay up to date on stories, to get more folks listening to the show because I know people are looking for these conversations. And you know what? If we get a chance, Lady B, let's go ahead and open up the phone lines for the first segment since I know that we have we have a lot of guests this show. We have Ben Cominos coming up at 6:30, John Iadarola from the Damage Report on the Young Turks coming up at 6, and we have a recording that I have yet to play for you guys. I think I had the first interview with Lieutenant Governor Sara Rodriguez, but I'm playing it over a week after I interviewed her because we've been so busy with the conversations, and I'm always hesitant to ignore folks who are calling in. So we are going to air her interview at 5:30 today, and super excited and so grateful to everybody here at WCPT who has been trying to talk to some of the representatives from Texas who are now in Illinois, and there are others in other parts of the country like New York and Boston. But State Representative Chris Turner is going to be joining us in just a few moments. So I thought I would open up the phone lines if you want to have get your thoughts out there, what you're thinking about today. And I'm a little bit overwhelmed by the reaction we've been getting to some of our posts on the Patti Vasquez show page. Please join us there and be some of the positive voices. And I know it gets nasty there. A lot of these folks are bots. I can tell because they all have the exact same talking points that's being regurgitated, whether it's something that they saw on Fox or on a conservative talk show, that they have consumed this idea that now that there are farmers across the country and other business owners who are struggling to get people to show up and do the work. We put a cartoon up that says farmers market and with signs that say basically help wanted. And the accusation from, I'm not kidding you, thousands of people or bots is that we support slavery because the Democrats don't want, I'm really still trying to figure out what they mean by that, because if they're saying that the farmers have been abusing and underpaying or withholding pay to undocumented workers, who, by the way, make up over 40% of the farm workforce, then why haven't we been fining them? Why haven't we been holding them accountable and bringing them to justice for also creating the demand for people to cross the border illegally? Just make it make sense, folks. We absolutely think that everyone should be earning not just a livable wage, but a thriving wage. And by all means, please, let's do something that we make sure that people are uplifted from poverty and we're able to have access to fresh food that is affordable. So just something I want to share with the folks who have decided to come and hate. Hi, everybody that's new. Again, that's the Patti Vasquez show page on Facebook. Let's get to our calls. Here's Jim in Chicago. How are you doing, my friend? What's on your mind?
Hi, Patty. It's time to gerrymander the continental United States as soon as possible. Gerrymander every state and enforce the Republicans out in the street. I want to see them out in the street protesting Trump's impeachment. And I'd love to see them in the street. You know, they can hide behind the computer, they can hide behind this, but I want to see them in the street. Let them sweat a little bit with the smoke coming from every direction, Canada and everywhere else that are. You know, let them get out there, breathe a little smoke. Gerrymander everywhere. That's what I like to say. You got Massachusetts, New York, New Jersey. I don't want to go through the whole list.
Right, but yeah, you're right.
But if the third grader can figure it out. And then put the ball in their court. After we guarantee us, we have to sweat the House. We don't have to sweat that out. We don't have to sit there with our rosary beads and worry about who's going to win the House. We know we're going to win the House. And then continue with the impeachment.
Well, don't you think, Jim, that the Democrats have been focused on protecting the norms, right? We didn't want to expand the court. Well, guess what? Now we are trapped in the situation where they're protecting a fascist. So you're right. The norms have been obliterated. We need to stop acting as though it's ever going to be solved by not rising to this fight.
Oh, absolutely. And remember, Democrats consider the whole country. That's usually the way they govern. They govern with, every American in mind, regardless of their party. But this party doesn't do that. This party just considers what the Republican Party want, but they don't even know what they want. They just want to temporarily dominate us. But if we gerrymander everything, which I hope to God we do, and then the thing with Trump is he's so afraid. What if Jack Smith's 2 cases came into the public view, like Nixon during the Watergate thing? And we saw it with our own eyes. We saw what he did in the document case. We saw what he did in the insurrection. We saw who was involved in the insurrection. And then forget this insanity with the guy that hung himself. Because, that case could have been, if that was really for public consumption, I don't even think it is for public consumption. But I know the documents case is, and I know that the insurrection definitely is, because we've never had a president that demonstrated an insurrection. We've never had a president that they proved, Jack Smith proved, he was holding on to these documents for criminal purposes.
Right, I think that they've paused the prosecution too. I think that it was part of the reason many people believe that he needed to win the presidency. And by the way, Jack Smith started the investigation. My recollections are right. If my recollections are right, before Trump announced he was running for office, right? Yeah. Well, I don't even know. The only thing he can announce is, how can I criminally make more money, and how can I stay out of jail? Good point, Jim.
And how can I stay out of jail? That's his whole point. Because remember, the one time he went to court, what did the 12 jurors do? It took them, an hour and a half to convict him on all 34 counts, not even one count.
Yeah, but MAGA is denying all of that. That we weaponize it. That those aren't even felonies. They should have just been misdemeanors.
Sure, yeah, and he's not criminally insane, and
right.
Yeah, there's a lot of things they want us to believe, but I don't care what they want to believe.
Yep.
We're the United States of America, and we're all citizens of the United States of America. And when you have an informed electorate, let the Republicans go out in the street. Gerrymander this. I know your guest is coming up. I'm all for it. New Jersey, you can name the states. Massachusetts, New York's loaded with them. California, you could probably flip 8 states there. And just let's get down to cases and force the Republicans out in the street. I'd like to see these Republicans out in the street. Anyway, thank you very much, Jared.
Thank you. I don't know if folks saw this, that Trump said yesterday that he would cut drug prices by 1,500%. Now, I want you to understand, as a history major, I am completely honest about the fact that I was not great at math in high school. I was all right in grade school, but then I was good at geometry. I like geometry a lot. Algebra, trig, nope. But I know that if you have a 1,500% cut in drug prices, that means that they would owe you. Let's say your prescription drugs cost $100 and they put a 50% reduction in the cost. That would mean you now pay 50%, $50, right? So if it's 100%, that means you don't pay anything. Now, if it's 1,500%, if my math is right, I believe the drug companies would then owe you $1,400 for purchasing their prescriptions. I thought it was a I mean, come on now. MAGA really wants to come back at us with all the other nonsense they have of previous presidents. And in real time, right now, this guy is saying he will cut your prescription drug costs by 1,500%. Make it make sense. I'm sure it's, you know what he meant. No, I heard what he said. And that's the issue. Okay, anyway, I just want to point that out. It was really crazy. And what isn't crazy anymore? This guy is just selling off our country piece by piece. And it's happening right in front of our very eyes, and there are folks that are just acting as though it's Tuesday. I mean, it is Tuesday, but it should be just cause for alarm and beyond that. I want to mention a lot of the conversations Joan had today were so I love the variety of the guests she had on today, and I was listening to the conversation about ICE agents wearing masks, and that law enforcement doesn't wear masks. They don't. I've even had former police officers message us, and I don't know why. They want to put police officers in danger by having people pretend to be law enforcement. Just saying. That seems to be dangerous for them. It puts them at risk. Hey, Matt, what's on your mind? Calling from Berwyn. How's it going?
Berwyn?
Yes.
So, I was thinking, it was just like, if the devil is actually real, and Trump made a deal with the devil to get the presidency again, that would answer a lot of questions.
Right? Yeah. I don't know. It seems like a lot of elements.
Why would people vote for him?
Because they've been told that
I just don't understand that part.
I know. But they've been told for decades that Democrats are evil. It doesn't even matter if our message is the stronger one. Yeah. They've been told for decades.
Yeah, they've been told that the worst Republican is better than any Democrat. And They certainly got the worst Republican.
Yeah, they did. It doesn't get any worse than this. Well, I mean, I feel like there have been a few. There's a lot. I mean, it's certainly shown a light on how bad they are. From this guy in Oklahoma who's a big Bible thumper caught in a meeting. He's like the school board superintendent, and he was caught watching porn during a meeting, to this Texas legislator who helped write the abortion bill. Turns out he's been having an affair for over a decade and has paid for some of her abortions, apparently. Like, we're seeing a lot more of them. Thank you for calling, Matt. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Patty.
Have a good night. Thank you. Before we get to our guest in a few minutes, for our legislator from Texas, I'm so excited about this. State Representative Chris Turner will join us in a moment. I want to thank our sponsors for making this possible. I've said this before. We are fighting an uphill battle. We are one of less than 100 liberal talk shows in the country compared to 1,500 conservative talk shows or stations and 700 religious stations. So these conversations are being supported by people who really believe that this side of the conversation should be happening. And on our show specifically, we love our and please support all of our sponsors. You can go to heartlandsignal.com. We have a sponsors page there so you can learn more about their businesses. On my show, we particularly want to thank our friends at Source Solar. Go to source.solar and make an appointment. Maybe it's time for you to get solar panels on your house before the incentives expire at the end of this year because Trump has cut them. We also want to make sure that you know about Minocqua Brewing Company. There are beer tastings every week at the Minocqua Brewing Company up in Minocqua, but he also has a great tap room in Madison, and you can order some great brews on the website, MinocquaBrewingCompany.com. And I do have my column on Substack for Minocqua Brewing Company. If you order some woke coffee, that supports the work that I do. I would appreciate us a little bit of love. I also want to thank our friends at Pride Coffee Roasters. Go to PrideCoffeeRoasters.com. They have a limited time discount for you. Drive Home 10 is the discount code, Drive Home 10, for 10% off your entire purchase. Maybe a bean subscription, maybe some gay swag. I have my Sounds Gay, I'm in tote. So you can check them out. They've got great coffee. Man, I love their coffee. And we want to thank our friends at Kids Above All. Go to kidsabovall.org and support their mission to help children live happy, healthy, safe lives. And all of our sponsors are featured on the Patti Vasquez show page, where you can also stay up to date on all of our shows, join the conversation, and there is a private group so you can stay away from the trolls, at least to the best of our ability. We'll be right back after this with State Representative Chris Turner from Texas, one of the heroes that has come to Illinois to make sure that Trump does not just roll over democracy. More in a moment on WCPT 820 and KKNW 1150.
Joan Esposito, live, local, and progressive.
What we do here at WCPT is more important than ever. And in addition to telling you about the latest outrage, I hope we all also offer you hope. You're not alone. We're all in this together. We are all resisting together. We are all going to work for the causes that are near and dear to our hearts.
Joan Esposito, weekday afternoons 2 to 5 on WCPT 820.
If you're purchasing a new home or refinancing your existing home, you need to call Team Hochberg, your trusted local lender. Suzanne called after hearing me explain discount points on my radio show because her son was purchasing a home in Colorado. I answered Suzanne's questions and encouraged her son to call me for a free consultation. Suzanne was so impressed with the service I provided, she wrote this 5-star Google review. Quote, I sent David an email today with a question about discount points that I heard him talk about on his radio show. And he called me back this evening with a complete explanation. I'm so impressed with his responsiveness and knowledge. Thank you, Suzanne, for the amazing review. I strongly encourage everyone to check out Team Hochberg's close to 600 5-star Google reviews. Team Hochberg helped Suzanne and thousands of radio listeners, but we can't help if you don't call 855-563-2843 or visit 56david.com. That's 855-563-2843 or visit 56david.com. Lower.com, equal housing lender, MLS 112-461.
Alexa, play WCPT.
WCPT from TuneIn.
You're listening to Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez.
I am so excited to have our next guest on the show, but beyond being excited, I am grateful that Democrats like him are taking the stand and drawing the line and saying no to fascism as Donald Trump tries to roll over democracy. State Representative Chris Turner, who has served Tarrant County in the Texas legislature for 6 terms, representing parts of Arlington and Grand Prairie. Sir, welcome to the show. Thank you so much. How are you doing tonight?
Well, I'm doing great. Thank you for having me. It's great to be in Northern Illinois.
Well, welcome, and we will keep any other information undisclosed because apparently there's a warrant for your arrest, which has to be surreal to you. How? First of all, you have been in the state legislature for 6 terms. Have you seen this slow, slog toward this moment in history?
Yeah, it really has evolved or devolved, I should say, over time. We've seen really since Trump came on the scene, about 10 years ago, just the Republican Party has just become a cult, and he is the cult leader. And it doesn't matter how bad his ideas are, how extreme they are, how much they break the norms and test the boundaries. These guys just follow him, and they're too afraid to stand up to him and to say no. And that's why we're in this situation we're in right now in Texas.
It's truly gobsmacking. And I know we know. Let's talk about why he is doing this and why he is trying to redistrict Texas to lean so heavily toward him and toward Republicans.
Yeah. So, there's a couple things that are important to know. So it's obviously the margin in the U.S. House of Representatives is very close right now. It's the closest margin since the 1930s. And Trump's very mindful of that. He's very mindful, no doubt, of the shellacking he took in 2018 in his first midterm election. And given the unpopularity of his policies so far this year, he is no doubt afraid of a similar outcome in 2026. So that's set the table for this crisis that we're in Texas. But what's really insidious beyond just his desire to, have a Congress that's compliant to him and is not going to hold him accountable or ask any tough questions, the way they're going about this in Texas is to identify and intentionally dismantle several majority-minority congressional districts in which voters of color have repeatedly demonstrated the ability and the power to elect the candidates of their choice. And they are ripping apart, they're trying to rip apart congressional districts in the Dallas-Fort Worth area that I represent, in Houston, in the Austin-San Antonio area, and in South Texas. And it's absolutely illegal. It is a clear violation of the Voting Rights Act of 1965, but we know they're trying to test that as well and ultimately overturn the Voting Rights Act. So the stakes here are very, very high.
And are you hearing, in conversations, let me put it this way. Are there any Republicans that you've had conversation with, or can you tell us that they're like, hey, this is just the way our caucus is going. We have to do this. I know it's terrible. Is there any Republican in private that will say this is nuts?
Yes.
Oh.
Some Republican members will certainly say that and have said that. But they fully acknowledge that the stranglehold that Trump has on their party, they believe leaves them no choice. And that's really sad because, it's important that any of us as elected officials, be we Democrats, Republicans, whatever, that we're willing to say something's a bad idea and bad for our constituents and bad for our state when it is, even if that means taking on someone from our own party.
Oh dear, did he just drop out? That's creepy. I think here we go. Yeah, I lost you there for a second.
Yeah.
Go ahead, sir.
Okay. Sorry about that. Yeah, just saying it's important that any elected official, whether they're a Democrat or Republican, is willing to stand up to a member of their own party, a leader of their own party when they're wrong. And it used to be a time in Texas that whether it's a member of Congress or a state legislator wouldn't be afraid to tell a president no. Or a governor no, even if they're in their own party, if they thought it was bad for Texas. But we're not at that point anymore.
Are your constituents and perhaps about constituents around the state, are they starting to feel the impacts of the policies of Donald Trump and reacting the way you would think people who are being squeezed would?
I believe so, yes. I think with the passage of the big ugly bill last month, the people are genuinely starting to feel the real negative impacts in terms of losing health care access, whether that's the cuts to the Affordable Care Act and the health insurance marketplace, whether that's cuts to Medicaid, cuts to food assistance programs, nutrition assistance programs, and a myriad of other programs that help people in Texas, just as they do across the country. And I think people are starting to see that. And additionally, I think they're starting to see they have been seeing just the sheer dysfunction once again of a Trump presidency. And, he promised he'd bring down prices. The prices haven't come down. And you see the chaos in his foreign policy, these ICE raids that are happening across the country where they're ripping families apart. But people are sick of the chaos and the destructive policies that are coming out of the Trump administration. But that's exactly why he's doing what he's doing in Texas with this redistricting effort, because he knows his policies are unpopular, and so he's taking extreme measures to try to artificially protect a narrow Republican majority in Congress.
We are talking to Texas Representative Chris Turner. You can go to his website if you want to learn more about the representative, votechristurner.com. And I want to talk a little bit about because there are people who say, well, look at Illinois. They gerrymander their state. Look, we have a super majority in our chambers. And the thing is that we do it every 10 years. Tell people why this is so freaking different.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, the redistricting is a necessary process. It is supposed to happen every 10 years after each census is done. And that's because district populations are supposed to be equalized, and people move, people are born, people pass away, and populations change within boundaries. And so you readjust every 10 years to equalize the populations. A mid-decade redistricting, like what's happening in Texas, is based on census data that's now 5 years old. So we're not going to have equalized districts if they go through with this. It's incredibly disruptive to the electoral process and to people's representation when your member of Congress can change on a whim just because a president orders a state to redraw its districts. And so there's a real element of chaos to what they're trying to do in Texas right now.
Well, I know I've watched some videos of folks that have been have tried to testify, have spent hours first driving to the state capitol in Austin, others who have been waiting hours to try to speak and then being cut off. Tell us a little about this process and how it's been rolled out.
Yeah, the process has been a complete sham from the beginning. So the Republicans in the Texas House, what they did was they scheduled 3 public hearings, one in Austin, one in Arlington, the area that I represent in North Texas, and one in Houston. And you're right, we had hundreds, thousands actually, of Texans come out to make their voices heard. 99%, and I'm not exaggerating, 99% of the people were opposed to this mid-decade redistricting. But what the Republicans did is they held the hearings before they introduced their map. So people didn't know exactly what they were testifying on. They were still against it, but they didn't actually they hid the ball. They didn't show people the map, and they claimed they didn't have a map. And then lo and behold, less than 36 hours after that final hearing, they roll out the map. They rush it through the process. We had a final committee hearing last Friday in Austin. Same thing. Hundreds of people came out, virtually all in opposition to the map. Republicans ignored the testimony, ignored what the people were saying, and passed the map out of committee in a hastily called meeting Saturday morning at 9 a.m. and then accelerated its movement to the full House, and it was scheduled to be on the House floor yesterday, which is why we made the decision to leave the state on Sunday evening.
Man, I again want to express our gratitude not only for this conversation, but entirely for the work that you are all doing. I know we've used the word fled, but you are digging in. And what do you want to tell before we let you go? And again, we're grateful for your time. What would you like the folks of everyone listening to know about this moment in history?
Yeah. Well, what I think is important for everyone to know, everyone in the United States of America, is that Donald Trump is steadily and surely trying to dismantle our democratic institutions. And this is one more front in that war. It's a really big front in that war. But we are in real danger of losing the safeguards in our country that make us the oldest and strongest democracy in the world. And Donald Trump has no regard for democratic norms, democratic principles. He wants to be a dictator, and he is taking dictatorial actions. And unfortunately, we got people like Greg Abbott who are happy just to follow him along and go along with it. So it's important that every American realize this fight affects them because it affects the control of the Congress, and it affects the ability to have free and fair elections where people actually get to choose who represents them in our nation's capital.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time and the work that you're doing. Please tell your colleagues that we are also grateful for them, and that this is a good radio show to do. We're one of less than 100 progressive stations in the country that has these conversations anywhere really against 1,500 conservative and 700 religious stations. So I would love to have you back when time allows, and tell them that they can come on too. We'd love to hear from all of you.
I will do that, and thank you so much for what you do and spreading the word about what's really happening to your audience. So thank you very much for having me today.
Thank you, and welcome to Illinois. I know it's not quite the same. I do love Texas, by the way. I really do. Food, the people, everything.
Well, come visit us. Come visit us sometime.
I do. I get out there. Believe me. I will talk to you again soon, sir. Take care. Take care of yourself.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. You too. Take care. Bye-bye.
Man, that's awesome. I was so nervous. That's like talking to a celebrity for me at this point, because these men and women are all heroes. Let's take a break here. When we come back, I have an interview that we recorded with Wisconsin Lieutenant Governor Sara Rodriguez, who is running to be the next governor of Wisconsin.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
I'm meteorologist Ray Miller from the Weatherology Weather Center. Clear skies tonight, but areas of smoky haze possible with smoke from wildfires moving over the region once again. A low temperature of 69 degrees with light northeast winds. Wednesday, sunny with a high temperature of 82 degrees. On Thursday, lots of sun with a high temperature of 87. Friday, sunny with a high of 90. Saturday, lots of sunshine and a high temperature around 92 degrees. That's the latest Chicago weather update. Right now, it's 82.
This is Chicago's Progressive Talk, 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and online at WCPT820.com, where facts matter. Amy Goodman reports on the news stories rarely covered by the corporate media. Democracy Now!
The UN's Humanitarian Affairs Office warned Palestinian children are at high risk of injury or death from unexploded ordnance left after more than 13 months of Israeli attacks. 8-year-old Mohammed Karmash, this is his mother.
No one was there to tell him that these are explosives that the Israelis throw.
Democracy Now! Weekday evenings at 10 on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk.
Warm temperatures are here, so make sure your AC is ready for the heat of the season by calling ARS Rescue Rooter. Take advantage of our $49 HVAC tune-up today by calling 1-800-857-9950 or visiting mydiscounttune-up.com. Regular HVAC maintenance can not only save you money on energy bills, but also on costly repairs. Waiting to service your system until you need to can leave you sweating the consequences. Dial 1-800-857-9950 to avoid the costly repairs that neglecting your system can create. ARS Rescue Rooters professional technicians are available 7 days a week and offer free estimates, so the time to have your system checked is now. Why wait? Call ARS Rescue Rooter to schedule your $49 HVAC tune-up at 1-800-857-9950 or visit mydiscounttune-up.com. That's 1-800-857-9950 today. For terms and conditions, please visit mydiscounttune-up.com.
Call ARS and Rescue Rooter.
Chicago's Progressive Talk, WCPT 820, where facts matter.
Union Strong Chicago continues to lead the way with progressive values and in preserving democracy. Your support of the Minocqua Brewing Company Super PAC efforts in Wisconsin and beyond strengthens the fight against MAGA Republicans. You can now purchase progressive beers like Labor Lager, Love Wins Fruited Sour, and the Resistance IPA in Chicago at Rogers Park Provisions, Diversity Beer, Wine and Spirits in Lakeview, Park West Liquor, Wine and Beer in Lincoln Park, Logan Square Liquors, and Tip Top Food and Liquors in Westtown. Visit visit MinocquaBrewingCompany.com for all their Chicagoland locations. As always, no matter how bad our sports teams are, please drink responsibly. We are so thrilled to be recording an interview with Lieutenant Governor Sara Rodriguez as we join the Walworth County Dems at their incredible summer event. Lieutenant Governor, I just heard you talking to some of the constituents. And so on July 25th, you made an announcement, which was also your 50th birthday. Yeah. So let me say, happy birthday, congratulations, and thank you. How are you feeling today?
So I am so excited. I was able to announce on my 50th birthday, which was incredible, and the outpouring of support has been great. There are so many people who want new voices in Wisconsin. They want leadership that's going to fight for them, and that's what I'm going to do as governor.
And there is such an element of Wisconsin politics that, really, it is the reason I keep coming into Wisconsin. I created the Fibs for Wisconsin. I don't know if you remember when we were campaigning for Kamala Harris, for Judge Susan Crawford. It is really a lot hinges on this state, doesn't it?
It really does. Wisconsin is the swingingest of swingiest states, and we are very, very purple. And really, we are a bellwether of what happens nationally. And so as we're going into 2026, we need to have competent leadership, strong leadership in the Democratic Party, and that's what I'm really excited to bring. I have been able to travel across all 72 counties in Wisconsin every single year I've been lieutenant governor. And what I hear from people is that they're being squeezed financially, that they are having a really hard time making ends meet. They feel like they're doing everything right and they just can't get ahead. And so that's the kind of thing that I want to put solutions forward. Let's have accessible and affordable health care. Let's expand Medicaid here in Wisconsin. Let's make sure our housing is affordable. I have an 18-year-old son. He's going to college, in the fall. He may want to get married and start a family. I want him to be able to do that in Wisconsin, and he's not going to be able to do that if we can't get housing prices down. Talking about kids, childcare. It is like your rent or your mortgage to be able to put your child in childcare. So we have to understand that childcare is infrastructure, just like roads, just like buildings, and we need to support it. And lastly, we need to restore union bargaining rights, because we know that when workers can advocate for themselves and their benefits, all wages rise. And so we're going to have to make sure that we're fighting for that in Wisconsin.
And it really does come to that in Wisconsin with when you talk about labor rights, union efforts, because, again, Wisconsin is essentially the birthplace of the labor movement. And yet we see what's happening in Madison and the way the Republicans have really, whether it's how they control the surplus, defunding of public education on top of not wanting to fund child care. What do you see as your relationship with the General Assembly in Madison?
So what I've been lucky to do, I served in the General Assembly for 2 years before I became lieutenant governor. And I have made it a priority to maintain relationships on both sides of the aisle. That's going to be important. So regardless of what happens in 2026, I am confident we are going to flip the state Senate and the state Assembly and keep the governor's seat. They are going to be tight margins. We are going to have to work with and negotiate with the state Assembly and the state Senate. Given my background, I'm a nurse, I've been an executive, I've worked within elected office for the past several years now. I've got both of those skill sets coming into this role, and I think I am well suited to be able to do those negotiations with the Senate and the Assembly.
And really, when it comes down to it, when you're talking to constituents, it's about making the argument, right? What is the case to be made for why you're the right person? And when you talk about, people have told you that they're not able to make ends meet, making a choice between the mortgage and the rent and child care, elements like that. When you talk about affordable health care, what is resonating with them when you have conversations? Do you see wiggle room from people who are very resistant and think that, I don't know, whether it's the Democrats can't get it done or they haven't gotten it done? What's resonating with folks?
Those are the issues that are resonating. It is truly what is happening in their pocketbooks. We know that prices are going up. Trump's tariffs are killing our farmers. It is increasing prices all across Wisconsin. And then this bill that they just put forward is going to be cutting Medicaid in Wisconsin. It is going to be cutting food assistance for folks, food literally from children's mouths that they are trying to cut with this federal bill that we have. It is utter chaos in Washington right now. What we need is strong, sensible, sober leadership in Wisconsin, and that's what I think I can bring to the table.
I mean, when it comes to the governors, you're right, because we do have governors across the country that are the leaders that are pushing back. I think they're the most vocal, the most visual champions when it comes to not just their own constituents, but Americans in general. What do you think about some of the elements of what Governor Pritzker, Governor Whitmer, Governor Newsom? How do you see yourself joining their forces going forward in the event that you win?
I would love to join that club. What we need to do as governors of states that want to protect our constituents, the people who live in our state, we need to band together. We need to fight against the worst parts of the Trump administration, and I'm ready to do that.
I love your enthusiasm about being ready to do it. What do you want folks to know about the leadership that Governor Evers has given the last several years? Because there were folks that were hoping that this would be the case, that he would say it's time for me to make this my last term. And what were you thinking in those moments leading up to making your announcement?
So Governor Evers did let me know ahead of time that he was going to retire, and I am so grateful for his leadership. He has set us up for success in Wisconsin. He has prioritized public education for kids. He has put Wisconsinites front and center in every decision he has ever made. He always said he would make the best decision for Wisconsin, and that's what he did. He has earned his retirement because he has done so much that has been successful.
And I know that we crossed paths during some of the campaigning for Vice President Kamala Harris in the last election and Judge Susan Crawford's. So you've been all over the state, not just campaigning for folks, but also meeting with people. Let's for those who aren't familiar with you, because sometimes folks don't necessarily pay as close of attention to lieutenant governors. First of all, where'd you grow up, my friend?
So I grew up in Waukesha County. I grew up in Brookfield. I went to Brookfield East High School, and now I am raising my kids in the city of Waukesha. So I did run away a little bit for college and for grad school. I'm a returned Peace Corps volunteer. So I served overseas in Samoa in the South Pacific as an HIV/AIDS and reproductive health educator. But I have been able to do so many things with my career that I am proud of. I'm a nurse. I worked for the Centers for Disease Control as an epidemic intelligence service officer. I did outbreak investigations nationally and internationally. Came back to then serve within the public health institutions, and then came back to Wisconsin to raise my kids. This is the place that I knew I wanted to raise them. And so when my kids were 2 and 4, we moved back and were able to get a house here, put our kids through public schools, and I have been married. I will be married for 20 years this December. I have a 16-year-old daughter and an 18-year-old son, and I have an 80-year-old mother who lives with me who cooks every Sunday for the whole family. So those are the things that are important to me, and Wisconsin is just, it's my home, it's where I grew up, and it's where I wanted to raise my kids, and that's why I want to make it a better place.
And was that what led you to run for office in the first place? And what was the inspiration for that?
So I originally ran for office for Assembly because I saw a broken system. This was during COVID, and the Assembly and the Senate had not met for months. And we were trying to deal with this epidemic, and we were trying to deal with people who were scared. They didn't know what was coming next, and we did not have leadership. And at that time, and it still is, the Republicans were leading the Senate and the Assembly. And so I decided to run for Assembly in my district. It represented parts of Waukesha and Milwaukee County, and I flipped that district from red to blue because I wanted just to make things a little bit better for Wisconsinites. And that was one of the reasons why I ran, because I saw that I could do something. I could bring my skill set as a nurse, as somebody who's worked in public health, to be able to put policies forward that would help people. And then when Mandela Barnes chose to run for Senate, the lieutenant governor position became available. And I wanted to use that bigger microphone to talk about things that were important to me. That's healthcare, that's housing, that's childcare. Those are the things I'm focused on, and those are the things I'm going to be focused on as governor.
And I heard you just a moment ago talking to the constituents. How does it feel now stepping into this moment of being the candidate for governor of Wisconsin?
It is exciting. It is nerve-wracking, and I'm definitely nervous. I think that you can prepare all you want, but you don't know what's going to be coming at you when you run for office. And so but I'm prepared, I work hard, and I'm going to keep talking to Wisconsinites and see what they want.
Do you want to do your last pitch, your 30-second pitch for voters that can hear us, by the way? We get a lot of Southern Wisconsin. We have a lot of followers in Wisconsin, so we're thrilled to be here. But here's your 30 seconds, and thank you so much.
Absolutely. I'm Sara Rodriguez. I'm the Lieutenant Governor of Wisconsin, but I'm not only that. I am a nurse. I am a former small business owner, and I have worked every day of my life, lacing up my shoes and just getting to work. And that is what I'm going to do as governor. I'm going to put sensible solutions on the table, and I'm going to work for you.
It was wonderful to talk to you, and I look forward to hearing your speech today and watching your race. We'll be coming up here, I'm sure, some more. So thank you so much, Lieutenant Governor. We'll talk to you again soon. This is Patti Vasquez on WCPT 820 and KKNW 1150 and KTNF AM 950.
A better life with Dr. Sanjay Gupta.
If you are like most people, you've probably spent a lot of time on your phone today. Maybe you missed out on getting some things done because of it. But according to new research out of the UK, your phone might not be the problem when it comes to distraction. The study's author said, while users unsurprisingly engage more with their smartphone when it is easily accessible, the amount of time spent on work and non-work activities and the fragmentation of their workday does not seem to depend on the smartphone's accessibility. In other words, people distract themselves with whatever is around themselves. The best thing you can do is to set some boundaries about when, where, and how you use your phone. I have found that setting up some VIP alerts, for example, for certain people, that has helped me a lot. But the key is to just not be so distracted. A lot of things can wait. I'm Dr. Sanjay Gupta, helping you live a better life.
Some people just know they could save hundreds on home insurance by checking Allstate first.
Hold it.
Like you know to check the assembly instructions first.
Hold it.
Before building the bookcase.
And done. Whew. You can let go.
Yeah, checking first is smart.
Ugh.
So check Allstate first for a quote that could save you hundreds. You're in good hands with Allstate.
Not available in every state. Potential savings vary. Allstate Vehicle and Property Insurance Company and affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
DQ presents The Sound of Happy. Hear that? That's the DQ Chicken Strip Basket. Only $7.49 for a limited time. We're talking 4 100% white meat seasoned chicken strips served with fries, Texas toast, and DQ signature country gravy. Yeah, you heard that right. For crunch time and no time, it can only be the DQ Chicken Strip Basket. Just $7.49 for a limited time. Get it delivered in the DQ app. Happy tastes good at participating locations.
Because facts matter. You are listening to WCPT 820.
If you're listening to this station right now, you've definitely heard my voice before. Hi, I'm Hawk.
And I'm Pete. And we're with Source Solar, your local source for solar. Source Solar is Chicagoland's premier solar installer, providing solutions for over 1,000 homeowners and business owners across Illinois and Iowa.
With over a decade of industry experience and deep roots here in Chicago, we have the expertise to help your transition to clean, renewable, resilient energy.
We can guarantee that we save you money day one without any out-of-pocket cost to you. This means you have an instant ROI, instant payback, and can save money to add to your bottom line day one.
At Source Solar, we source everything as local as possible, meaning we always carry the Made in USA sticker.
Find us online at www.source.solar. Stop in our office at 5710 North Northwest Highway or give us a call at 773-985-3992.
And don't forget to ask for Hawk
or Pete.
Patti Vasquez is taking your calls now.
We need to speak out about this.
At 773-763-9278.
Hello.
He's driving it home with Patti Vasquez.
It's so weird because I want to say that every time, and then I double say it now. Hi, everybody. I want to thank you all so much for joining our conversation. And man, what a great conversation with State Representative Chris Turner from Texas. Of course, there are a lot of Illinois electeds who are joining them at some of these press conferences. I can, you know what? Let's run one of with Congressman Raja Krishnamurthy right here. We have this. Oops, there's still that's playing. Let's make that stop and hit this.
When a flood devastated parts of Texas, leading to 130 people dying, including children, did Greg Abbott call a special session to create disaster relief for people? No. Did he call for a special session to help families rebuild? No. Did he call a special session to strengthen warning systems so that people could avoid the catastrophe that happened during the flood? No. Instead, he did the bidding of Donald Trump, who asked him to basically banish Democrats from the federal delegation representing Texas in Washington, D.C. My second point is this. Greg Abbott, don't mess with Texas. Don't mess with Texas because the people here represent Texas. You can silence them, you can smear them, you can saddle them with debts and fines, but you cannot intimidate them. And these people will not be intimidated. So I lead to my third and final point. Don't mess with democracy. Don't do it. You can play that game in Texas. You can gerrymander the hell out of that map. Guess what? Two can play that game.
That's right.
Other states will do exactly the same thing and neutralize what you're trying to do in Texas. It's not going to work because we are not going to let it work. We are going to stand strong with these courageous individuals who are standing behind me, who've come to Illinois, knowing that the rest of the nation is with them.
Yeah, pretty incredible that we've come to this moment where 51 legislators had to leave the state because they were being railroaded by the Republicans of Texas. And if you missed the conversation that we had with Representative Chris Turner, we will have that available as a standalone podcast, as we have all of our podcasts available at heartlandsignal.com or wherever you listen to your podcasts. And I want to encourage folks to visit the Patti Vasquez show page where we let you know about guests coming up. You can also scroll through if you missed a guest, you want to link to their website or their social media. You can find it there, as well as our sponsors of the show, as I've mentioned, Pride Coffee Roasters, Kids Above All, Source Solar, and Minocqua Brewing Company. And by the way, if you are interested, is Dr. Jason Bissell, who is a sponsor of the entire station, of all of our shows, who supports all of our work. If you are a business owner and you want to have these, I interview my sponsors because I want to make sure that you know who the people are behind these businesses and why they're so invested in protecting democracy. So you can reach out to the station. Steve Lessman is our sales guy here, and we'd love to hear from you. Let's get to our text. The Credo Mobile phone and text line is available to you, 773-763-9278. That's 773-763-9278. Credo Mobile is better for the planet and for people. Go to credomobile.com. Let's see, I've got some texts to catch up on. And the 847 says, hey, Patty, the bright folks that think that Trump is a genius will boast about him lowering drug prices by 1,500%. Yeah, I'm telling you, man. I haven't put a post up about it, but I'll make a little post tonight and see what the reaction is, because I'm sure I'll be called stupid or that I want people to pay a lot of money for a prescription. Like, it is amazing. Like, first of all, subtlety is truly lost on people who are not capable of critical thinking, which I'm just saying, it seems to be a lot of folks in the cult that they don't see the humor, they don't get a joke, it's a little exhausting. I was watching a clip of this a teenager who's doing stand-up comedy, and he was talking about being born during President Obama's presidency, right? That was the first president he knew was a black guy, which is interesting, right? He didn't have any other frame of reference, and then his first white guy as president was Trump. And I know, isn't that mind-blowing? Like, he was 8 years old when Trump became Lady B, I can pull your... No, I can't, because I don't know how to fix the board again. Hold on, let me see if I can do it this time. Maybe the door will open and Matt will mysteriously appear and fix the board so I can get to the microphone. But he was saying that, nope, not that one. Is it end program? Is it that one? Or am I going to be able to take? Can I take? I don't think it's that one. Whoa, what is that? My hearing. That's that's another station. Let's see if I can find it. Let's see. But at any rate, there's the door magically opening. I was close, wasn't I? No, I was not close. Hi, Matt. How are you doing today? Excellent. I want T. Oh, T program B. There we go. And there's Lady B.
Yes.
Can you imagine? I mean, I know we have little ones, right?
Right.
But to have your first president that you know growing up to be Barack Obama, and then your first white president is Trump, and he's a minority, dark-skinned young man, and the audience was terrible. Like they were. I will tell you, because I'll have sets where there's hardly, like Sunday night was okay, but it wasn't like that audience just wasn't necessarily rolling with me. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I felt okay about the material. And that's how kind of like, but this kid was getting like booze and all kinds of stuff, and it was really good material.
Oh my God!
I know it was wild, and but like having a conservative audience, like of course they didn't get the nuance to what he was saying.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, I don't know what to say because it's mind blowing, like you said, and yeah.
Yeah. But they don't have the humor. By the way, thank you so much for coming to the Laugh Factory on Sunday. It was good to see you. Wasn't that fun?
We all had a great time. Oh my God, it was great.
Yeah.
It was.
How great is Dwayne Kennedy?
It was such relaxing, funny, everything. It was, I needed that.
Yeah, my mom goes, you were really digging deep for your old material. I was like, but I wanted to do, because, like I started my career by really, that's almost entirely a true story. That last joke is almost entirely true.
Right.
Really, she actually, so I was writing this, I wanted to be a little bit naughty. Right. And it's funny because I was naughty way before we had like that as sort of an expectation of women in comedy, like Sarah Silverman and Chelsea Handler, like Amy Schumer, really dirty, Nikki Glaser. So, but I was kind of naughty. Like that was kind of cute. Right.
Exactly.
About, how do I put this? Oral gratification and talking about hot fudge sundaes. Right. I think that's the best I can do as far as, but it was actually when I tried telling her it was about being a teenager and having, not teenager, because I was a virgin all through high school. So in college, having boys try to encourage me to do something I wasn't ready to do.
Right.
And I was like, I know where it is. I wasn't planning to take a trip down there with my mouth.
Right.
Right. South with my mouth. That was a joke. I wasn't planning on taking a trip south with my mouth. That was like as naughty as I was. Right. So that was a story I was telling my mom, and she did hang up on me.
Oh.
She was like, oh, Patricia. Right. She called back, remembering me tell her about Cosmopolitan giving instructions on how to perform that.
Right.
And that's how I wrote the bit. So it was kind of fun to sort of go down memory lane with that. But so I'm glad you came to the show.
It was great.
Oh, and by the way, how about Dwayne? Like the best commercial for our show ever.
Right. Oh my God, he was fabulous. I mean, everyone was fabulous, and he was funny.
God. So good.
Oh yes,
I loved it. It was really nice to see you there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So I was like, I had to come. I was like, that's why when you kept promoting it and mentioning it, and I was like, when is it? What Sunday?
Yeah.
And then it was this Sunday. I said, I gotta go. I gotta go. I need this.
It was great. Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. So, folks, Dwayne Kennedy will be back soon. But follow him on social media, and also tune into his podcast, The Naptastic Truth, The Napsalute Truth with Tammy X. And let me catch up before we go to the break. Let me catch up on some of these texts. We have Myrna asks, have you seen this video? I don't know what it is, so I don't know what it's always weird to look at actual video of Janine Pirro arriving at her job at a U.S. attorney. If you've seen the woman sliding off the back of her boat and just continue to go in the water, I do like that, as though she's had a little bit too much consumption. Mark says, it's a horrible topic, but I thought, Patty, I'm on vacation in Door County. This guy is the husband of the chairwoman of the Door County Republican Party. I thought possibly Ben could comment as one of your Wisconsin correspondents. Sturgeon Bay, man charged with 10 counts of child. Yeah, I'm telling you, it's never the drag queen that they want to ban. It's always some Bible thumper, some pastor. I'm sorry, but it is a person of trust. So this is Sturgeon Bay man charged with 10 counts of possession of child pornography. And he is the husband of the chairwoman of the Door County Republican Party. So not for nothing, but again, not drag queen. Let's go. Larry in Wheeling says, woohoo, 1,500% cut in drug prices and a 250% tariff on imported drugs. Woohoo! That's some fancy math. Yes, I did not do well in algebra, and a lot of my math was not great. But at any rate, these folks are off their rockers. Let me take a break here. When we come back, we're going to talk to the damage report's John Iadarola when we come back in a moment on WCPT 820 and KKNW 1150. We're so happy you're here.
Nothing makes a gathering great like Eggland's Best Eggs. They're just so delicious, with better nutrition, too. For us, it's eggs any style, as long as they're the best. Eggland's Best.
This is 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
I'm meteorologist Ray Miller from the Weatherology Weather Center. Clear skies tonight, but areas of smoky haze possible with smoke from wildfires moving over the region once again. A low temperature of 69 degrees with light northeast winds. Wednesday, sunny with a high temperature of 82 degrees. On Thursday, lots of sun with a high temperature of 87. Friday, sunny with a high of 90. Saturday, lots of sunshine and a high temperature around 92 degrees. That's the latest Chicago weather update. Right now, it's 82.
DQ presents the sound of happy. Hear that? That's the DQ chicken strip basket. Only $7.49 for a limited time. We're talking 4 100% white meat seasoned chicken strips served with fries, Texas toast, and DQ's signature country gravy. Yeah, you heard that right. For crunch time and no time, it can only be the DQ chicken strip basket. Just $7.49 for a limited time. Get it delivered in the DQ app. Happy tastes good at participating locations.
There are 1,000 ways to say it.
Nope. Knock it off. Shut it down. Dream on. No dice. Give it a rest. Not a chance.
Or just
All text. You focus on the road.
As a passenger, you have the power to prevent an accident. There are 1,000 ways to stop a distracted driver. Choose one.
A message from CTIA.
Hey Google, play WCPT.
Streaming Chicago's progressive talk from TuneIn.
Driving it home with Patti Vasquez, Patti Vasquez.
From global conflicts to greenhouse gases, the folks refusing to wear masks says, and politicians getting caught grabbing asses says, she's driving it home with Patti Vasquez.
Thank you so much for driving it home with us. Hello to our friends listening at KKNW 1150 in Seattle and KTNF AM 950 in Minneapolis, St. Paul. We want to thank our sponsors for making these conversations possible. As I've been telling you guys, that there are 1,500 conservative radio stations, and we are one of only 100. So those sponsorships are incredibly important, and they are putting their money where their values are. So we could not be more grateful to Source Solar. Source.solar is where you want to visit if you think maybe it's time to put solar panels on your house, especially before these incentives expire before the end of the year, because Trump has cut them. And you don't want to wait till December. You want to make sure you get the ball rolling now, because it takes a few months to get the evaluation, the inspections and the installation. So please go to source.solar. Peter Sorellis and Warren Price will join us on Thursday to have a conversation about what the process is like and what you can do. And then when you call Peter, he is so helpful. We also want to thank our friends at Pride Coffee Roaster. Go to pridecoffeeroasters.com. We have a special discount for our listeners for a limited time. Just type in Drive Home 10 for your 10% discount off of everything, including their bean subscription. We also want to thank our friends at Kids Above All. Go to kidsabove.all.org and support their mission to help children live happy, healthy, safe lives. And they have a backpack drive going on right now. So help them out and send kids to school with some new school supplies. You guys, there's no better feeling than having those cool notebooks, and me, it was Trapper Keepers and having a new backpack. I loved all of that. And we also want to thank of course, Kirk Banks at Minocqua Brewing Company. Go to MinocquaBrewingCompany.com and pick up some progressive beer, maybe some woke coffee. Not for nothing. You also support the work that I do on Monday through Wednesday by purchasing Woke Coffee and the columns that I write for him. All right, that's all the business out of the way. I've got to get to our good friend John Iadarola from the Damage Report. I haven't seen you since the DNC, my friend. How are things going in your part of the world?
Well, it's been a long time since we've spoken, but nothing's really changed. So just, taking it day by day, I suppose.
I don't know. People getting kidnapped by LARPers in law enforcement costumes. Seems like it's changed a lot. I'm just saying. It's weird. It's weird. It's I can't explain what it's like to have, people who have last names like mine or look like my mom, seeing them. It's insane. But at any rate, you cover a lot of stories. And I have to ask you this because you have a much larger reach, I think, and bigger audience. Do you look at any comments? Do you respond to anything, the hate or kind of absorb any of that?
Since the pandemic, when I was kind of a one-man crew managing both Twitch and YouTube comments while doing the show, I've kept that up even since we've gone back to the studio the past few years. So while we're doing the show, I have, among many open windows on my several monitors, I do have live comments coming in.
Oh, yeah.
I'm very lucky that my community is mostly positive, but we do get some trolls or just some people who disagree. And during our social breaks, I do try to engage with them if I think that they're attempting to be productive, sure.
Yeah, it's just a strange thing to there seems to be peaks and valleys of their energy, right? Like especially after the Epstein files. So let's go to the Epstein files. Tell me a little bit about what you're focusing on in regards to the fact that all of a sudden it's Obama made it, but if my name is in there, it's not my fault. I didn't, and then the 16-year-old girl was stolen from my spa, and that's why I was mad at Epstein. Make it make sense, folks, right?
Yeah, so for me, it's kind of like the perfect example of, can anything get through to a certain 30% of the country? And also a test of, can he distract from literally anything? And obviously, this has been maybe the issue where there's been the most disagreement from his side with him. And yet, it's not just disagreement. It's been changing pretty much every couple of days. And so I've been really tracking that, and both in terms of the polls, but also, what the quote-unquote independent right-wingers are covering on a daily basis, what Fox News is covering, and just trying to see, how long can this possibly hold out as an issue that the right continues to press them on. And I've been surprised at how long they've lasted. I do worry that it's starting to wane, that there's a natural things go stale, no matter how exciting they are, no matter how big of a cover-up it is. And so I'm making sure that I cover the updates, of which, there are not as many because they're successfully not releasing the documents. We haven't seen the interviews with Maxwell, but making sure that we cover it and just trying to find some evidence that people on the opposite side are continuing to be consistent on this as an issue that they care about.
Are they even reacting to the fact that she was transferred to a minimum security, basically a club fed in Texas?
I have not seen a ton of evidence that has bothered them nearly as much as I would expect to. I saw more opposition to that move coming apparently from other inmates at that prison. They find it grotesque that she's there doing yoga and raising puppies and all of that stuff. For me, I really worry that this is like a trial balloon on the pardon. How much can we do? I don't know if you saw, but there was a host on Newsmax who floated the idea that, it's tough to say and people might not want to hear it, but she might be innocent. There might be something else behind this thing. And that's not Fox yet, but it's one step away from Fox,
Man, yeah, I just can't even imagine the mental gymnastics that MAGA is performing. I mean, it is Olympic level to hear him say that, Virginia Giuffre was the girl that he stole, and not okay, why would you be mad at a towel girl, a 16-year-old? I could see maybe if she was a whiz accountant or some sort of software engineer that created something for you, whatever, but. That was the line he drew in the sand, John.
I know. And obviously there's a lot about that story that isn't true timeline-wise. That did not actually end their relationship. Their relationship continued for many years. But as always, I like to address both the facts behind the story he's supposedly telling, but then also, let's pretend that it's true. As you have just demonstrated, it's grotesque if it's true. Why would he possibly even know that he'd lost a 16-year-old? Why is a 16-year-old working in the first place?
Yep.
in that sort of environment. The whole thing is just gross, and I hate the family of of her. Obviously, she took life, but her family having to go through all of this.
Yeah, it's an excellent point. And look, I asked you like what kind of response are you getting from MAGA if they're coming on your page? Because we put a promo of you being on the show and also a link to one of your conversations about Mike Kelly and his wife, in their stock investments and all this stuff. And immediately I got, well, you didn't care when Nancy Pelosi did it, and you make the point, right? I know. But they're in charge now. To your point, like now they're in charge. Now they can do something about Nancy Pelosi and her husband, right? I mean, why are they crying?
Yeah, you'd think you'd be happy. Also, before making that sort of criticism, maybe familiarize yourself even briefly with my work, because I've only done probably 15 stories specifically about Nancy Pelosi and that issue. Back when the Democrats were in charge, I was criticizing her for standing against those Democrats, including AOC, who were pushing for an individual stock trading ban. And not only that, in the Kelly piece, they also criticized me. Like, they could not be more wrong. I just want it to be banned. I don't care who's in charge.
Yeah, they are making themselves rich. Oh, by the way, are you covering this? Yeah, you are. I saw it. Marjorie Taylor Greene now saying that she might have to leave the Republican Party, but she's not quite saying that it's Trump, but they maybe aren't aligned with what maybe she's not a part of them anymore. What in the frickin' frack is happening here?
Yeah, so I think that she has some actual things that she disagrees with the party on. Not necessarily the things she should, like considering how much she was talking about QAnon and cabals and all of that stuff. The Epstein thing really doesn't seem to be bothering her enough. But some issues like, her issue with military support for Israel, her opposition to the bombing of Iran. There's been a few things, some of the treatment of, the treatment of Elise Stefanik, in terms of the position she was up for. There's been a few things where she does disagree with the Republicans are. And generally, I have tried to give her credit for that, despite how much I find her to be politically and personally revolting. But I also think that this is a bit of a branding exercise. Like, she's going beyond how much she actually disagrees. I think to build up this aura of being a maverick, maybe in like the McCain sense. I don't know if she's planning some sort of future run. She apparently has ruled out a gubernatorial run. Maybe it's a Senate thing. I don't know. I don't think that she's going to leave the party, especially considering she's still not capable at all of criticizing Donald Trump individually.
Yeah, exactly. I think you're aware, by the way, that we now have quite a few Texan legislators in our state. We just talked to Chris Turner, who is the Democrat from Tarrant County. This is a wild moment in history, don't you think, where we have 51 legislators who are digging in. I know a lot of people are saying they've fled, and I even use that language, but I do think that they are digging in. They've drawn a line in the sand and are calling attention to the measures, the steps that Republicans will take to destroy democracy. Don't you think?
Yeah, exactly. Like they're choosing the battlefield that gives them the best chance of succeeding. If there's any cowardice here, it's the Republicans being so terrified of an open and free and honest election. They don't want to run on their record. They don't want to run on Donald Trump's supposed popularity. And I love what they're doing. I was lucky enough to have Representative John Busey III on my show. He represents almost the area I lived in Austin, which was nice. But I love that they're doing this. Obviously, in Texas, the representatives have had to flee the state a few times, and there was kind of a version of that, the Republicans in Oregon, a little bit more than half a decade ago. So it's not the first time that's happened, but I think it's one of the few times it's been over this insane gerrymandering. And I don't expect much productive to come out of all the gerrymandering talk happening all over the country, but I wish this was an opportunity for us to finally agree that this isn't how this is supposed to be run. Whether you're a Democrat or Republican, maybe you hate what Texas is doing, or maybe you hate what Gavin Newsom or Hochul might do in New York. But either way, this is not how a democracy should run. We could make this independent. We could give the people of these states actual representation somewhat proportional to their percentage of the population. I just think that's so much more sane, and I hope that this reminds people that that's a possibility.
Yeah, this is something I'm wrestling with because, we talk about all the norms that Donald Trump has destroyed, and, Democrats are like, well, we want to preserve tradition. We see Dick Durbin not necessarily going after the Supreme Court or other issues with real teeth, right? And yet it's like I'm not comfortable with the fact that we're like, all right, fine, if you're going to do that, we're going to do this, and essentially go against the part of democracy that you allude to, that we want this to be fair. We want people to have their voices heard and represented. But on the other hand, I don't know how we combat this if we don't go tit for tat, right?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I've said for a long time, up until the last 6 months or so, that I think this is a very important principle. In the last 6 months or so, I've had to change. I believe that perhaps trying to persuade them based on values or ideology or fairness or norms or whatever might convince them that this is a better system. But that clearly isn't working. And I think it's maybe insanity to keep trying, especially to the detriment of so many Americans for cycle after cycle. So maybe we need a different tactic. Yeah. Maybe it's only once gerrymandering has caused them to squeal hard and long enough that they'll finally agree to some sort of federal run or whatever the guidance would be for independent redistricting commissions, and then we can return to that. That's what I think it should be. But us advocating for it, it doesn't seem to have been moving us in that direction.
No, and you're right. We had a listener call in last hour. Our friend Jim was saying he went to see Republicans in the street angry about gerrymandering. Maybe that is what it's going to take for them, like you said, for them to squeal. The argument a lot of folks are making on my page, because I have a lot more haters apparently. I wake up to things like calling me a commie C word, and one person over the weekend, a lot of people want me deported, which is interesting since I was born. To where? Lakeview, Chicago. I'm getting a lot of that I'm illegal, calling my mom, and since she's an immigrant, she must have been a criminal and all. Anyway, it's been fun. But one of the arguments they make is because in Illinois we do have a bit of a supermajority in our chambers. In Springfield we have the governorship, we have the Supreme Court, but however, we do it every 10 years with based on the census, changing populations and things like that. This is different, John. In the middle of the decade and at the behest of Trump, right?
Yeah, 100%. And I have a lot of issues with the way that it's normally run. And obviously, every time the Republicans now pushing for us to ignore the clear letter of the Constitution and take out non-citizens from the count, like that's the everyday issues we have with this system. But when you don't even abide by that, it's even worse, just because you're so terrified of the midterms that you have to do it now. And a reminder back, I believe it was in 2003, that the last time Democrats fled Texas over gerrymandering, it was, again, another one of these middle-of-the-decade pushes to gerrymander. So we've experienced this before with Texas, their willingness to do this. And I will remind everyone, it's already a heavily gerrymandered state. The Democrats already have nothing like the representation in Congress they should. It's not that red of a state. It went like 56-42.5 or something. It's not like it was a total blowout. They're just trying to gerrymander it even more.
Oh, man, it's absolutely insane. When we come back, John, do you have time for another segment, or do you need to go?
Of course.
Oh, I appreciate that. When we come back, I want to talk about you, because you are following what the other news outlets are doing, like Fox News and Newsmax and things like that. I have friends who do. One of our fill-in hosts watch it. I can't, but I want to find out more from you about where folks can go for reliable sources when there's a story that they go, what are the conversations happening around this, and what's the true story? So I want to talk a little bit about that when we come back. We're hanging out with John Iadarola, the host of the Damage Report. I absolutely love your the banner on your social media, because it really does feel like everything's on fire. And where's the best place for folks? YouTube is the best place to watch a show live. What time can folks catch you live?
So it is 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific.
Excellent. So that means it's noon in Chicago. Noon? Is it noon or is it? Yeah.
I think noon. Yeah.
I'm so bad with that.
That would have been the more useful area time zone for me to say.
No, it's for everybody. Let's take a break here and continue our conversation with John Iadarola. More in a moment. on KKNW 1150, KTNF AM 950, and WCPT 820.
This is a WCPT Veteran Minute. During the Civil War, 11% of the Confederate Army was made up of enslaved men forced to join. One of these men was Robert Smalls. Smalls was a deckhand on the Confederate supply ship known as the Planter. During his time, Smalls learned as much as he could about navigating the ship so he and others could escape. And on May 13th of 1862, while officers were sleeping, Smalls, along with 16 others, took the Planter out of the Charleston harbor, navigating through all 5 checkpoints while heading to open waters looking for the Union blockade. Smalls raised a white flag of surrender, letting Union soldiers board the ship, giving them guns, ammo, and documents about planned Confederate attacks. Being a wealth of information, Smalls was given the role of the Union Navy captain. Stories like Smalls are one of the many factors convincing President Lincoln to allow free African Americans to serve in the Union Army. This has been a WCPT Veteran Minute.
Some people just know they could save hundreds on home insurance by checking Allstate first.
Hold it.
Like you know to check the assembly instructions first.
Hold it.
Before building the bookcase.
And done. Whew. You can let go.
Yeah, checking first is smart.
Ugh.
So check Allstate first for a quote that could save you hundreds. You're in good hands with Allstate.
Not available in every state. Potential savings vary. Allstate Vehicle and Property Insurance Company and affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
Snakes, zombies, sharks, heights, speaking in public. The list of fears is endless. But while you're clutching your blanket in the dark, wondering if that sound in the hall was actually a footstep, the real danger is in your hand, when you're behind the wheel. And while you might think a great white shark is scary, what's really terrifying and even deadly is distracted driving. Eyes forward, don't drive distracted. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter.
From city streets to political beats, you're driving it home with Patti Vasquez, where progressive talk fuels the ride.
I'm so excited to welcome John Iadarola back to our show. We hadn't really been able to catch up since the DNC because a lot's happened, John. He's the host of The Damage Report, which you can catch on YouTube, 1 p.m. Eastern Time, 10 a.m. Pacific Time, and I believe that puts us at noon in Chicago. I really should have looked that up while we were waiting to come back, John. Off the air, John was telling me that we're going through a lot of topics, and they take their time with stories, and they show, I mean, like, I love that you show, like, the graphics and sort of the background on it. You have a conversation about it. Where do you recommend folks go, since you are collecting all this information, making sure that you go to different sources? Where do you recommend people go to reliable sources?
Yeah, well, look, as much as people accuse me of creating a bubble, I try in my research for the show to get out of it. And so I have a pretty broad sort of like grazing territory for news. I mean, I do think as much as, you know, it's been depressing to see some of the big news organizations sort of come like pre-surrendering to Donald Trump in a variety of ways. We saw that with the Washington Post before the election. I still think there is good reporting being done at some of those traditional sources like the New York Times, the Washington Post, that sort of thing. I also think that a great supplement to that would be something like The Guardian and the BBC, sometimes Al Jazeera as well. Like some of these foreign, news outlets do quite a bit of good reporting and provide a different perspective, both on the domestic news, but also importantly on the foreign news. And there's been quite a bit of, foreign policy, obviously, in this first 6 months of the Trump administration. I also think, because we were talking about, what conservatives are discussing, I know, a lot of people are probably familiar with them. They've been around for a long time. But I do think that Media Matters is an organization that does a great job of just keeping abreast of what is trending in right-wing media, providing, quick little clips so you can understand the talking points and the conspiracy theories and all that. And they also do great analysis of, like for instance, it's where I found out that in the same week that Fox News didn't bring up Epstein once, they did 168 segments on Obama and Russia. Like those sorts of analyses I find to be very useful. So I always recommend Media Matters to people.
I really appreciate that. And to your point about what are the talking points, what are the conversations that conservatives are having or MAGA, I don't even know anymore because whether to call everyone that's conservative MAGA, but that's getting into like the nuance of it. Because what I'm seeing now when we're getting more followers, so we are getting in front of more conservatives or MAGA members, and we shared an image. It's a cartoon. It says farmers market, and it shows, kind of different types of farmers holding up signs, help one on the orchard or to, pick crops, all these kinds of things. And what I'm getting a lot of is Democrats don't know what to do without their slaves. And it would be one thing if it was a couple, but it's in the thousands. And I don't know how much of it is bot driven, how much of it is something that's being shared on conservative radio or on Fox, because I don't know if you heard me at the beginning of the show. There are 1,500 conservative talk stations in the country, 700 religious stations. We are one of less than 100, and people think that radio is dead, but almost 300 million people still tune into terrestrial radio every single week. And during an election year, it's about between 16 and 20% of people turn to the radio for their information. So this drum has been beaten over and over again. The Democrats are the party of the KKK, of slavery. It's wild to me. Anyway, I don't know what I've gone on for a long time to also want to hear your thoughts.
No, I'm glad that you reminded everyone of those numbers. It's important, and it's why, if you want to hear voices like yours and on your network, people do need to support it, because it's not just naturally going to develop. Like, the reason there's so many conservative ones is generally they're supported by big corporations, by big donors. I mean, it's actually a very similar story out of the infrastructure of called independent right-wing voices developed on Twitter and on YouTube and all that stuff. But to your point about the slavery thing, I mean, I have a few issues with that response, which could very much be bot-driven, I suppose. It could also be copycatting. I've seen roundups of, they'll take 12 different Twitter accounts of prominent right-wing pundits all tweeting the exact same thing with the same catchphrase or whatever on different policies. So it's possible that talking points are being sent around. But on the slavery thing, so first of all, if I'm being a troll, I would say I don't think you seriously think we support slavery, because if you seriously thought that, you wouldn't be so mad at us. Some of you would be offering us a beer. That's what I'd say as a troll. But more seriously, I would say Donald Trump himself constantly backtracks and says, well, no, we're actually going to carve out where we're going to allow people working on these particular industries to remain there. If anything, and by the way, he seems to believe that he's come up with the concept of a work visa, which is strange. But if anything, the Democrats support a pathway to citizenship. You come in, you do work, whether in one of those industries or otherwise. You develop attachments to the community, you participate, you pay taxes, all of that, and eventually you can become a citizen. It could not be further from support for slavery. I honestly don't even understand what they're trying to say there.
I don't either. And yet, like I said, the repetition of it is startling. And so, then it makes me go look at different sources for the information, and learning that the USDA has a report out looking at from 1991 to 2022 that approximately 42% of hired crop farm workers are estimated to be undocumented. And we've talked a lot about how they go after the workers, and yet the people who are putting them to work, hiring them, and sometimes, intimidating them when they try to get their wages or, fight back about how long they're working or anything like that. They're sort of at the mercy in some instances, but we're not fining or punishing the people who are hiring them and putting them to work.
Exactly. I mean, and that's sort of it's almost a perfect example of how, the rage that I think a lot of right-wing politics farms basically among their base, it should be rage against those CEOs. But it isn't. It's instead filtered through generally race-based identity politics. And so you go after the people who've done nothing, and you're not just go after. Let's be clear. Deportation is so 8 years ago. Now it's, okay, we'll deport you, but maybe you get nibbled on by a crocodile first. Or we'll deport you, but probably to South Sudan. It's not enough anymore just to deport people. They're clearly reveling in this. When, as you say, they wouldn't have the job if they weren't being hired. And I wish we could somehow open their eyes to that. I mean, people are trying. And I do think a lot of people are turning against Donald Trump's immigration policy over the past month or two, but probably not as much as, I would have preferred.
No, and because he's targeting places he wants to punish, like California, like Illinois. It isn't coming down as hard. Although there are, stories about how farmers are struggling in the aftermath of their workers being afraid of being apprehended or hunted. I mean, they're hunting people down. It's crazy, John.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, you had that one person who there was the raid and they were running away and they fell and they got seriously injured. And I believe they eventually passed away as a result of the injuries that they experienced there. And, it obviously there's a lot of it that's focusing on farm workers here in L.A. Some of the big standoff that resulted in cavalry being dispatched to parks here started with them raiding, day laborers outside of Home Depots who just wanted to hang drywall, but we're treating them as if they're MS-13. But then you have students being detained, people writing op-eds. You had that one peace activist who was he was deported to Israel and ended up being murdered by a settler there. There is a growing death toll from this policy, and even those who do survive, you had the gay barber who was deported and ended up being sexually assaulted multiple times. I mean, this is way beyond just a policy disagreement. This is real life and death stuff.
Yeah. Well, I'm so grateful for your time today. We've been talking to John Iadarola. Do you want to tease folks with what you're working on for tomorrow for your show, for the Damage Report?
Well, tomorrow I'm going to be joined by Sharon Reed. She always holds it down for Big News Wednesday on the Damage Report. And we are definitely going to be staying on this redistricting story. Earlier today, we started really diving into the various ways that the federal government is getting involved in how elections are run. And we have more on that's going to be coming up tomorrow as well.
All right. Well, I would look forward to it, and I look forward to talking to you again. If you need an Illinois perspective, if I can ever help in any way, you're welcome to reach out. Thank you, John.
I think you're going to have to come on the show.
Oh, I appreciate that. I'll have to do my hair then. I mean, I do it I wear baseball hats on my show. Thank you, John. Where else should folks find you? YouTube? What do you like to direct people toward?
YouTube is good. I'm not, ever since I had my daughter, I don't do as much social media, but I do post some short-form content on Instagram at instagram.com/John Iadarola.
Fantastic. Have a wonderful evening, and my best to your family. Look forward to talking to you again.
Thank you. Same to you.
Take care. Bye. Let's take a break here. We're going to have Ben Cominos on next, the host of Outside the Box on WHBY in Appleton, Wisconsin.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
I'm meteorologist Ray Miller from the Weatherology Weather Center. Clear skies tonight, but areas of smoky haze possible with smoke from wildfires moving over the region once again. A low temperature of 69 degrees with light northeast winds. Wednesday, sunny with a high temperature of 82 degrees. On Thursday, lots of sun with a high temperature of 87. Friday, sunny with a high of 90. Saturday, lots of sunshine and a high temperature around 92 degrees. That's the latest Chicago weather update. Right now, it's 81.
This is Chicago's Progressive Talk, 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and online at WCPT820.com, where facts matter.
This is a WCPT 820 Heartland Signal News Minute.
Illinois is leading the whole country. There is no other state right now that has a campaign like this.
That's Chris Brown, president of Brady, United Against Gun Violence, speaking to WCPT's Patti Vasquez about Pause to Heal. The public-private partnership seeks to raise awareness of firearm restraining orders in Illinois. These civil orders temporarily prevent someone in crisis from purchasing or possessing firearms.
Suicide is not inevitable, and often it's the difference of about 15 minutes on average. It can be just an episodic moment. The difference is having access to lethal means. And I'm raising it in the context of the Pause to Heal campaign, because in the states that have done really deep education campaigns, what they've found is a material reduction in suicide.
For WCPT 820 and Heartland Signal, I'm Andy Miles.
For the longest time, it was hard for me to even get out of the house, much less do a backside 180. It took me a bit to understand what was going on, but eventually I learned I had anxiety. Now I'm getting help for it and feeling so much better. Sure, some days are better than others, but the whole thing about getting out of the house, that's not really an issue anymore.
Mental health care is working. See what it can do for you at mentalhealthcareworks.org. A message from the American Psychiatric Association Foundation.
This is WCPT 820, where facts matter.
Welcome back to Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez.
We are thrilled to welcome back to the show the host of Outside the Box on WHBY. You can go to hby.com or, download their fancy little app. It's Ben Cominos. How are you doing, Ben?
I'm great, Patty. How are things?
Oh, I'm excited because you're coming to Chicago. You're going to be filling in for me, and I believe we're going to a Cubs game over the weekend. So you're in for me next Friday.
Yeah, super excited for that. I was actually just talking about that with a friend of mine before you called me. So, definitely looking forward. Never been to Wrigley. Buccos are already out of it, but at least the Cubs are worth it. Yeah, never seen it. So.
Oh, I'm excited. I love the bleachers. When we're there, I'll tell you about how I got thrown out and banned for a season. But that's not a story for right now. I was the audience, the folks who regularly listen know that I was taken to Cubby jail, which exists underneath the bleachers. I think it's still there. I will do nothing that I was 29. Not that that's an excuse. 29 sounds actually it was my 30th birthday.
Still a baby. Still a baby as far as I'm concerned.
I mean, it was just indecent exposure. At any rate, but I did get a ball. Anyway, what are your listeners talking? Are they still on Epstein, or are they cool with Ghislaine Maxwell being transferred to a minimum security club fed?
No, I mean, everyone's kind of in lockstep on that, at least that listens to my show. There's not too much understanding for that. There is a little bit of denialism from the standpoint of it hasn't happened. So, they're willing to let time play out, whereas you and I both know if we were in this exact same moment, roles reversed, that same patience may not necessarily be exercised for a President Harris or President Biden. But definitely, if it happens, I saw a poll this morning that said 47% of Republicans, if it turned out that Donald Trump were guilty of child molestation, be like, well, nobody's perfect. I don't have any of those people listening to my show.
What?
Yeah, now, I don't remember the source. I wish I had the source. I can't remember. It's not in front of me. But, 47% of Republicans. So it's 12% of the actual population. But they exist.
Oh my God! I don't even know what to do with that information.
But they're not listening outside the box. So I actually got a call this morning towards the end of my show where the guy says to me, "I don't like how you say MAGA. You say it with a tone, and it feels condescending." And I was like, "Dude, you're calling the wrong guy." I think I specifically said I can point you in the direction of several much worse shows that will be less condescending. But
yeah.
But, so maybe one or two of them have snuck into the audience. I swear to God, Patty, this job makes me so paranoid. I feel like they're like plants because I've been talking a lot of crap on some local reps lately. I'm just like, where's this guy coming from? Where's he been?
Yeah, well, and that's what I'm seeing on our Facebook page. I've been getting a lot of really nasty messages. We had one post that took off since Saturday, and it's a cartoon of it says farmers market, and it's farmers holding signs looking for labor because in some places there are shortages, and some folks don't want to show up. I still think it's amazing that the people who are accusing Democrats, essentially what the response we're getting is that we want undocumented workers to be slaves. That's the talking point right now that's out there. And yet they don't want to go after the business owners and the corporations that are hiring undocumented workers. And look, I want there to be a path to citizenship. I want people to have the opportunity to come and work, and whether it's sending money back to their family or they want to move here for a better life, to be safe, whatever that. And clearly that's not the case right now, since a lot of people are being hunted at their jobs and schools and home at any rate. But the talking point now is the reaction is so nasty, Ben, about, yeah.
No, so this all, in my opinion, just hearing the way you're describing right there, and I've seen people with the same talking point online, although not necessarily aimed at anything I was posting. Back in the 90s, Newt Gingrich essentially laid out a strategy where the Republicans were going to run to the right, and as Democrats would try and meet them of the center of where they were, they would move further to the right, thus creating a new center. And he essentially laid that strategy out shortly in the right around 1992, and it feels like it's been the playbook since then. Because I'll be real with you, before the election, you could find episodes of Outside the Box where I was saying, not that again, just like you, I'm like, blame the people doing the hiring. These people are escaping a trash situation to try and make money to get their family out of a situation. I don't think anybody should be begrudging anyone for that. But a case could have been made that undocumented labor was being used to suppress the wages of other people in that industry. Yeah. I would have been happy to have that conversation. And as soon as, and that's what makes me question how real these people even are that you're dealing with, just like the emails and callers I'm getting, because the second they realized the left was willing to have that conversation, well, now we want to make it about you guys actually want slaves, because there is no middle ground with that there. You know what I mean? Like, I was down to have a real conversation with you about it, but you don't want to have that conversation. You're just going to run further to the right then. Yeah. And like it feels like that same strategy plays out 1,000 times over.
It's truly twisted troll logic. And for those of you who are fans of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, you know that quote. Anyway, I really...
I just saw the new Naked Gun movie, and there's a Buffy the Vampire Slayer reference in that movie. I saw it like 3 hours ago. That's the second Buffy the Vampire Slayer reference I've had in 3 hours. Go on.
That's crazy. Okay, I could live there for a moment. How was the movie?
Oh, it was real good. It was actually incredibly. I had a smile on my face it's only like 80 minutes long, but it's good. Very entertaining. I'd highly recommend it.
It's going to be the next movie I see in the theaters. We have to wait till my son goes back to school, so my husband and I have a little time, and so yeah, I'm excited to see that. We need to have a smile. A 90-minute smile sounds blissful, my friend.
I couldn't tell you the last time I sat in a theater watching a movie. Like a lot of comedies really don't come out anymore. Like, it was a packed theater and everybody was laughing. It was a very nice 80-minute break from all the crap.
That is
so it was nice.
That's fantastic. I love that. What are some of the other stories? Are you getting more callers who are frustrated with the way things are going? Is there, beyond the Epstein files, but are there any impacts that folks in Wisconsin are starting to feel from the policies, like maybe the tariffs, the big beautiful bill, the big BS bill?
Yeah, not so much on the local level are people reacting in that way, outside of about every single school district struggling to plan a school year, because, fun fact, when you don't know what your budget is, it's hard to plan for anything. I know. Who could have saw that coming?
What?
But, yeah, right? Just about every school district up here seems to be struggling with that aspect. But what we did today... and Patty, you and I have talked about this. I've said this on your show before. I told you it may have been Pollyannish, but I believe if Donald Trump messed up badly enough, there would be enough Republicans that maybe don't necessarily think Democrats have the answer, but that will be willing to say, this economy's stupid. Trump doesn't know what he's doing. And of all people, you ready for this name? Karl Rove took to Fox News to say, Donald Trump is squandering this economy, and we are only 6 months in. It's like a 2-minute clip, and he says the claim Bidenomics is working for Democrats is Donald Trump's we're in the golden age of American prosperity. And he said, and his voters are not buying what he's selling. In a generic ballot right now, Democrats are winning 46-43. So I essentially was just doing a segment that if we had an actual candidate that meant business right now, there's an entire population of people ticked off about what they're seeing. And, I think they're in Northeast. I think they're everywhere, quite frankly. And it's interesting that a Republican stalwart would come out so quickly and be like, this economy is not the answer.
Yeah, that's crazy. I just pulled it up, and because to your point, now Trump has fired a statistician for sharing statistics. By the way, this is my thing. Everyone's like, "Oh, she got caught padding the numbers or whatever the new talking point is," and that she did it under Biden. She has in the past had to make adjustments based on, and I know this is really hard for MAGA, and see, I am being condescending. Sorry, everybody. I know it's hard to understand the the concept of receiving new information and then sharing, being able to come up with new insight and information based on that. I know.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I know.
No, absolutely. I looked up the history of it. They're normally off by 25%. They missed quite a bit with these particular projections. And like from an interest rate standpoint, it's frustrating because you have to believe we almost certainly would have gotten interest rate reduction had the numbers been accurate. But it most certainly is not a bipartisan thing. And moreover, Jerome Powell was raising the interest rates when Joe Biden was president. That's what these guys, the MAGA brigade struggles with here is, I am frustrated with a lot of the measures that are being taken, but to pretend that this is somehow a giant deep state liberal agenda, we were dealing with the same issues under Biden. It's just such a misrepresentation. But where we lose out, Patty, is, and you know this, the Charlie Kirks of the world and Ben Shapiro's have much more reach than you or I do, and they will intentionally misrepresent what's going on.
Yes, and they do it with their full chest, right? They like the lies. Right. They don't stumble. Like I, maybe get tongue tied because I'm trying to be specific and deliberate with what I say. And if I make a mistake, I'm also willing to say, I have new information. Let me change the direction in which I'm headed. You know what I mean? I don't know, Ben.
Oh, sure. Yeah, changing your mind, apologizing isn't in vogue anymore. But these guys have been doing it a lot longer. I think that's what a lot of people on the left are frustrated with. Is I think we're beginning to realize just how long things have been trending in the wrong direction. Whether it be with the Republican right, whether it be with the economy for the working class, and kind of snapping out of this stupor now and trying to play catch up just feels very daunting. But it's not like we're running up against juggernauts here. Like, these guys are very bad at this. So it's just a matter of having people generate the kind of excitement like what we're seeing in New York right now. Like, people are looking to be excited by somebody. They just have to actually deliver.
Absolutely. Ben, can you hang out for another segment? I wasn't sure if we had carved it out, but do you mind hanging out for another one while I take a break?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, for sure.
Let's invite, if folks want to join our conversation with Ben Cominos and me. We'd love to hear from you. 773-763-9278. That's the Credo Mobile phone and text line. Credo Mobile, better for the planet and for people. Go to credomobile.com. We'll be right back in a moment with the host of Outside the Box on WHBY out of Appleton.
Joan Esposito, live, local, and progressive.
Former Illinois Governor Pat Quinn is here.
Number one, let's thank this radio station and Joan Esposito. You're the strong voice for the public interest. I really like WCPT. It's a breath of fresh air, and more power to you. And we have work to do.
And we're going to do it together. Thank you so much.
Joan Esposito, weekday afternoons 2 to 5 on WCPT 820.
This is a WCPT Veteran Minute. After working several odd jobs in New York City, Henry Johnson found his way into the National Guard during World War I. Johnson was assigned to the 369th Infantry Regiment, but the all-black unit was better known as the Harlem Hellfighters. The Hellfighters' first task was assisting the French Fourth Army. On May 15, 1918, Hellfighter Johnson noticed Germans attempting to break in. Johnson retreated to get backup from the French troops, noticing German soldiers were attempting to kidnap another Hellfighter. Despite standing at only 5'4", Johnson sprung into action. With only 3 bullets and a bolo knife, Johnson was able to kill 4 enemy soldiers and wounded 21 others, causing them to retreat, saving himself and his men. However, Johnson received a total of 21 injuries all over his body, including his left foot being shattered. Johnson was discharged, and his papers did not show his heroism or his injury, leaving him unable to receive any disability compensation, leaving Johnson penniless at the time of his death at age 36. Johnson's heroism went unnoticed for decades until President Barack Obama awarded him the Medal of Honor in 2015.
Thanks to the Biden-Harris administration's prescription drug law, people with Medicare now have lower costs and more benefits, including a $35 monthly cap on covered insulin, free recommended vaccines, and a brand new $2,000 cap on out-of-pocket drug costs beginning in January. Finally, thanks to the law, Medicare is now negotiating directly with drug companies, resulting in new, lower prices for 10 of the most expensive and most prescribed drugs in Medicare. Learn more at lowerdrugcosts.gov.
Sponsored by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
You're listening to WCPT 820 because facts matter.
If you're listening to this station right now, you've definitely heard my voice before. Hi, I'm Hawk.
And I'm Pete. And we're with Source Solar, your local source for solar. Source Solar is Chicagoland's premier solar installer, providing solutions for over 1,000 homeowners and business owners across Illinois and Iowa.
With over a decade of industry experience and deep roots here in Chicago, we have the expertise to help your transition to clean, renewable, resilient energy.
We can guarantee that we save you money day one without any out-of-pocket cost to you. This means you have an instant ROI, instant payback, and can save money to add to your bottom line day one.
At Source Solar, we source everything as local as possible, meaning we always carry the Made in USA sticker.
Find us online at www.source.solar. Stop in our office at 5710 North Northwest Highway or give us a call at 773-985-3992.
And don't forget to ask for Hawk
or Pete.
You're listening to Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez.
Thank you for joining us as we head into the home stretch of Driving It Home with me, Patti Vasquez. Joining me is our friend and fellow radio host, Ben Cominos, who's the host of Outside the Box on WHBY in Appleton, Wisconsin. Really one of my favorite towns in Wisconsin, although I think it's clear that I'm a pretty big dork for Wisconsin, Ben. You can go to WHBY.com or you can download the app so you can have it available. And go ahead and tell us right now about the new podcast. You mentioned earlier that you went to go see Naked Gun, and I'm super jealous because I want to see it as well. And tell us about what you got going on.
Yeah, we just got it off the ground a little bit ago. There's only 4 episodes, but we've recorded it. We have like 12 or 13 in the can. I started a podcast. I do a hit on Tuesdays after my show on WSCO The Score, which is our sister sports station. And I would go over there to talk sports, and the host and I would always go off topic and talk about movies that we saw, and all the listeners would go nuts, being like, we came here for sports. And so we started a podcast called Off Topic, where we go and see a movie that's at the theater. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for appreciating that.
Well, there's a reason, too, I love the name. And when Renato Mariotti and I used to co-host a show with him about the, Trump and the Russian investigation and stuff like that, and he was looking for a name, and I called it On Topic. So I think that's really funny. I love it. Because we would say on topic. Yeah. We wouldn't go off into other things that Trump did. That's amazing. So I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Tell folks how they can find it and all the
Not
all the
at
good
all,
stuff.
but it's on my Outside the Box page when you go to WHBY.com and you can search it, the Woodward Podcast Network. We just did Ballerina, the John Wick spinoff is the most recent episode that went up. And I grew up on theaters. Like when I needed alone time as a kid, there was a theater across the street. I'm very big on still going to the cinema, and I feel like that's definitely dying out. So the podcast is all about pushing people to see it in theaters, which is why I'm happy you and the hubby will be making your way to a theater to see it. That's the way to do it.
Well, I went to go see The Materialists a few weeks ago, and it was funny because it's the first time I've been in the movie theaters for a while. And it was fine. It's there are elements of it that I appreciated. I thought that they handled sexual assault a little bit. It was sort of, I don't want to say clumsy. I think it was important. Did you see The Materialists with Pedro Pascal and Dakota Johnson?
I did, yes.
Yeah. I thought that was a little weird. But at any rate, it was what I realized as I was watching the movies, like I did not have any urge to grab my phone. My whole body relaxed because I felt accountable for not checking my phone and scrolling or whatever. And I don't do that when I'm at home watching a movie. My husband's like, are you even watching this? I get distracted. And so it was nice to just be there and be present for a movie.
Yeah, it's that's one of my big things. I always say a good movie is exactly that. If you're not reaching for the iPad or the phone, you found something, and that's there's good stuff out there. There's a lot of good things coming out. So go, anyone listening, that's my PSA. The world's falling apart. Distract yourself for 90 minutes every now and then. Go to a theater.
I agree completely. Yeah, I want to go see Naked Gun.
Off topic.
Off topic. We're off topic right now. Well, we were talking a little bit ago about Charlie Kirk and Ben Shapiro and how much of a reach they have. I still think it's so weird, like how popular they are. I remember in the 80s wondering, and in the 90s actually, when I became a stand-up comic, and I remember talking on stage one day about how basically the mechanics of the ear works the same for everybody. We're hearing the same things, but it's what's in between them that, it's based on experience or tradition, whatever, but that people could listen to Rush Limbaugh and go, yeah, that guy makes sense, was absolutely beyond me. And it's only recently in the last decade or so that I learned more about how he was built, like by, basically by design, with writers and people who had worked in advertising, and that it was a construct of billionaires wanting to control the conversation. And I read an article last week about how one billionaire said he bought radio stations because he never wanted to hear a radio host say that we should tax the billionaires. And I was like, right. I see what happened.
I believe that. I wholeheartedly believe that. And I mean, as much as it sucks, I mean, there's also some truth, Patty, like, you and I don't exist in this medium without Rush Limbaugh. Like, he kind of showed people that even doing what you and I do, despite being very different than what he does, is ultimately, like, in that same sphere. So it was revolutionary in that way, but it seems very obvious to me that it was a way to reach a population that maybe, at least at the time, not as many people were trying to listen to. Like, there's episodes of The Simpsons from the early 90s where Homer's listening to a Rush Limbaugh surrogate. Like, it was pervasive that long ago that it made it into the Simpsons zeitgeist, which they always kind of predicted this kind of stuff. And like I said, I think we're realizing just how much of a well-oiled machine was laid out in front of us over decades. But again, they're not doing a particularly impressive job. Like, look at those Charlie Kirks and Ben Shapiros trying cover for Epstein right now. It's not going well for them. I saw just before you called me, I came across a video. It's one right-wing host, I don't know who it was, but said that there would be an insurrection if Donald Trump pardoned Ghislaine. And Tucker Carlson said, I'm not calling for a revolution, but if Trump does this pardon, there would be a revolution. He said if you had a president who wanted a revolution, he is behaving in that way. So there's an element of these right-wing talking heads that are like, they realize the writing's on the wall. Andrew Schulke's another one. Even Joe Rogan coming out saying, who knew that Donald Trump was this dumb? Everybody knew you're playing dumb right now.
That's a good point. Oh my God! There was something else you wanted to talk about, or was it? Did we get to the podcast? Because I want to see if I
was going to say these morons with the wildfires. We had mild music this weekend, live music outside all weekend, and it was just ruined with a haze. But the Wisconsin GOP wants you to believe it's a poor forest management and not, the fact it's the driest freaking summer ever up there.
Exactly.
The talking points come out. You watch them get disseminated, and all of a sudden Brian Stile and Tom Tiffany and Derek Van Orden and Tony Weed and all the same usual suspects all pop out, and they're like, when's Canada going to get their act together? And it's no coincidence that they're one of the biggest fighters on this tariff conversation. And it's just get the talking points in order, and then all of a sudden I'm getting text messages, hey, why isn't Canada doing more about these fires? I'm like, you morons.
Oh, my God. Yeah.
So simple.
I know.
Simple. Infuriating.
I agree. We have two callers on hold. I don't have too much time, folks, so I don't know if I can. By the way, I have a segment called Rapid Transmit, so let me go ahead and fire that up. So hold on.
Welcome to Rapid Transmit.
I think it's fun. I haven't used that button enough. Paul in Seattle, what's on your mind? You're on with me and Ben Cominos.
So I can tell you why the Epstein files are an issue and why it's related to the reason that there are 1,500 right-wing radio stations in this country as opposed to like 100 liberal or progressive stations. And that is because the first thing is in the poor white community, the MAGA community, there are a lot of sexual dysfunctions. Incest runs rampant. Alcoholism runs rampant. There's lots of women in that poor white community, the MAGA community, that have been raped by their brother or uncle Bumblefinger, or even their fathers. And that's why everyone knows that. My mother was a professor of nursing, and she learned this from her patients. And they're generally a people with a lot of grievances. And that's why yelling on talk radio and blaming people appeals to them, whereas Democrats are mostly well-adjusted. They don't like to argue too much, and they don't like to listen to arguing. A few of us like to discuss issues, but, that's why a lot of Democrats do hanker off to NPR with soft talk, and they talk about stories like 20-minute stories on the art of, carving double reeds for instruments like oboes and bassoons,
I have to get to another call.
Doors closing.
Thank you, Paul. Sorry, I got to run, but thank you for those points. We also want to get to Judy from Niles.
Hi.
Welcome to Rapid Transmit.
What's on your mind?
High quality production.
I just lost my hearing.
Sorry. What do you want to share with us?
I want to end on a happy note. Los Angeles just opened a new solar power plant. And I know this because we are friends with a young man who is the solar engineer. Oh, cool. His name is Kevin Smith. He's actually a friend of my stepdaughter's. His wife is. If you would ever want to talk to him, I think it'd be better if you talk to his wife because she's the talker. He never says anything.
Oh, great. I would love that. Thank you, Judy.
I would too.
I appreciate it.
This is the final stop for Rapid Transmit. Please continue to listen to Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez.
That was almost longer than Judy's call. I apologize, Judy. Thank you for calling, Judy. Ben, I've got to run. It's the end of the show, and I've run out of time. Ben Cominos, WHBY.com. Also, check out on his page his new podcast, Off Topic. Ben is filling in for me next Friday. Thank you so much for that, Ben, and I'll see you that weekend.
Sounds good, Patty. Thanks.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good night. Thank you to all of our sponsors, Pride of Coffee Roasters, Source Solar, Monaco Brewing Company, and Kids Above All. Thank you, Lady B. Everyone have a lovely evening.
Warm temperatures are here, so make sure your AC is ready for the heat of the season by calling ARS Rescue Rooter. Take